So for those who don't know me, my name is Chris Grace, owner-operator of Mission Fitness Center along with my wife. I've been involved in the industry for about 25 years, competitive powerlifting for about the last 5. So what we're going to cover today is doing a meet, what it takes to prep for a meet, just so you're familiar and not showing up and being just totally overwhelmed by the whole event. It's always important to go in with something with as much knowledge as you can, to be as comfortable as you can, to get the best out of yourself that you can. So that's what we'll cover today. At any time, don't be shy. This is not a formal thing. If you have questions or don't understand what I'm saying or can't hear me, raise your hand. I'll speak louder or answer any questions that you have. All right, so if anyone caught the Instagram post, the first topic is programming for a meet, and what is the best program for a meet. I have a particular program I like to choose because it's a simple program, it's easy to follow, and it's easy to track your progress. And that's what we need, especially for your first meet. After you do a meet or two, you can always experiment and try different things, but for the first one, we want to keep it simple and basic and something that's easy to track, record your progress, and it has an end goal that is perfectly timed for a 12-week meet prep, okay? It's the typical 5x5 Texas method. And for any beginner, I recommend this program the most because it's the most efficient and it's the simplest to follow. And I will explain it as such. I wish I had an overboard, it would be easier to show. But it's a 5x5 progression for the first 8 weeks, and then it tailors off to peak out on your meet day. So there's a couple of things you should do before you start a program such as this, and that's get a somewhat understanding of your 1RM. 1RM just means your 1 rep max. And you don't always have to max out, but if you get real close with like anything 5 reps or lower, there's a formula you can do to get a theoretical 1RM, and you can program based off that. That's just as fine. So for those of you who don't know that formula, let me give it to you as well. So write this down, and you can utilize this for the rest of your life through all your training, okay? It's the amount of weight that you are actually lifting times the number of reps that was completed. So it's the amount of weight you lifted times the number of reps you did. Then we're going to times that by 0.033. And then we're going to add the amount of weight you lifted. And that will give you a theoretical 1RM for that particular lift. There is one hiccup to that formula, in my opinion, so I'll say it now. I think that formula works best with 5 or less reps. So for example, if you're benching and you put 250 on the bar for men, 100 pounds for women, whatever it may be, and you're able to get in that 3 to 5 rep range and can't get another, it's a very good indication that that formula is going to be pretty spot on for your 1RM. When you start getting 6, 8, 10 reps, the formula is not quite as accurate. Unfortunately, repping out does not follow the same principle as strength training. So make sure that if you're doing that formula, it works best for a 5 or less rep scheme. So once we have our 1RM or a theoretical 1RM, we want to use the 5x5 method as a 80% starting week 1 weight. And I'll just keep this in layman's terms. If you're squatting 200 pounds, you're going to take 180, and it will be your first week of training at 5x5. Now here's the magic of this scheme. It does both volume and strength in the same training method. You don't have to worry about doing anything else, because it works off a 5, 4, and a 3-day split. And it's intended to be best worked on a 5-day split, but a 4-day split works okay. So understand this, if you're going to meet prep yourself, take it very serious. We don't go into this half-assing it, making excuses, I went out drinking too late. I mean, if you're really going to pay for a meet and intend to train for one, I recommend at least the 5-day split. First day, Monday, or whatever beginning day you have if you're Tuesday through Sunday trainer, or whatever it is. But day one is heavy squats, 80% of 1 RM, 5x5.
2-step, big breath.
Now here's the secret of this formula. If you are successful with all 5 sets and 5 reps, the very next week you are going to add 5 pounds to the weight. You will repeat the same process, 5x5. If you are successful, you just keep adding 5 pounds to the lift until you're unsuccessful. Anytime you're unsuccessful, you simply repeat that given weight until all 5 sets of 5 reps are capable, and then you add more weight and go again. And that is only for 8 weeks. Wherever you end off at week 8 is fine. Week 9, it goes to a 4x4. Week 10, 3x3. Week 11, 2x2. And then you go to your meet. It's the simplest formula to follow for anybody who doesn't know programming. Don't convolute your programming with a bunch of nonsense. We are focused on 3 lifts and 3 lifts only. So it's heavy squat, followed by heavy bench. Day 2. Day 3 is deadlift. Day 4 is light squat, 80% of your 80% 4x4. Day 5 is light bench, 80% of your 80% 4x4. And every time you're successful, you'll just go up there as well. But that really is more for just motor pattern development and slight recovery. It's not designed to beat you up. Don't go outside of this program for your first meet. I don't even suggest a weight cut for your first meet. Whatever weight you are, stay there. You're not setting any records. You're not going for world attempts, anything like that. Don't make your first experience difficult or stressful. You're trying to just do the best you can the day of the meet. It's already going to be stressful enough. So don't worry about weight cutting or getting into a particular class. Whatever you currently weigh, just try to maintain that for the next 12 weeks, and you'll go into that weight class and your age group and perform at the best you can perform. And we want to keep maximum amount of weight on that platform that you can. Trying to do radical weight cuts is not optimistic for your first thing when you got too many other things to worry about, okay? That's just my suggestion. Certainly do what you want, but we want to keep the first one simple. Keep it easy to understand and get those numbers precise. And the beauty of the 5x5 is it just tailors those in. You start getting very proficient at those movements. And when you show up to the meet, you don't have to think about anything except performing. Okay? Any questions?
Did you say how to choose the weight for the first heavy part?
Not yet.
Okay.
The best way to do this for your openers and anyone curious is whatever weight that you can do comfortably for 3 reps should be your opener. After that, it's always good to have someone go with you, film it, and you can check your speed on your movement. I have a go ahead.
So it's different if we're utilizing like RPE-based training. Right?
I do not do RPE for strength training programs to a meet. The reason being is it's a very complex system that you need to be very, very proficient in to understand. And truly, RPE comes from the cycling world, and it comes from long distance running, and it was adapted into strength training. I'm not a big advocate of it. And every time they test it against the 5-3-1 or the 5x5, it loses out on strength training. So I think it's fine when you're not getting ready for a meet. It's great for volume training and understanding, getting to your rep maxes. It does have its validity in training, but I don't think prepping for a meet. Unless you have a coach who's spot on and can watch you every day, then that's slightly different. but any coach is going to be able to do that with regardless of whatever program they use. The first, again, you can always go to RPE after you have a couple under your belt, but we're trying to get the simplicity and keep it as proficient and just where you don't have a lot of headaches going on. In RPE, there's too much vague and your own perception of things that we might not be getting the work in that we need to be getting in, and we just want to be simple about it. So that's my take. But again, you can do your own research and decide what method you want to do. But this is just for someone who's wanting to do their first meet, and we just want to keep it simple. That way you're not clogging yourself up with a bunch of stuff with RPE 7 and speed of the bar. There's just too many things. So if we can go in and just go, okay, so I know the reps that I was getting 3 for 3, which is a few weeks out from that meet, would normally be your opening. And you're going to see that what you started with as a beginning weight, you will surpass in your 12 weeks, you will be repping out. What was once your 1RM on the 5x5 will be a weight you rep easily after 12 weeks. That's the beauty of it. It's a simple linear progression program, but it works great, especially for newbies who don't need to worry about too much, and they can just track their progress. It's just the easier method.
Accessories.
Not for your first meet. I can give you accessories, David, because I see you daily and stuff, but I won't, the method really doesn't call for any accessories. Here's what's going to happen, though, on your first time doing it. You're going to find weaknesses. You're going to see body parts that maybe need a little assistance. But someone who is just getting ready for a meet and we just have the 3 lifts to target, we'd rather just be as proficient as we can in those 3 lifts and not start worrying about a bunch of things. And look, you get a couple of meets in, obviously, we're going to have to work on weaknesses to make the lift progress. But it's just an easier thing to not convolute the training with what am I supposed to be doing here. Just stick to the training, keep your recovery down. You're doing the lifts, you're getting out, you're eating, you're recovering. You're doing the lifts, you're getting out, you're eating, that's all you want to focus on. It doesn't seem like much, but I'll tell you, you get 4 weeks into it and you'll wish you weren't doing the 5x5. I'll tell you that right now. It's brutal.
I'm happy 5x5 is over,
It's
but
brutal.
now I'm dying still. So.
Okay. Any questions on that?
You need to get the formula before you go. What's the formula?
No, I did.
Yeah, you and
He's got it.
Bonnie. Huh?
Yeah, he's fine. Go ahead.
All right. Well, now that you're doing it, I'm using knees,
Uh-huh.
but I will not use them when I'm holding the line. Is that going to be
So you're squatting with knee wraps in a competition. Of course you are. But it's a different category. It's called classic raw.
Okay.
You're allowed to squat in knee wraps in that category. And if you feel comfortable with that, stay with that. I did my first meet. I've since gone raw, but I trained with knee wraps up for my first meet, and you just sign up for that particular category. And for you, it'd just be classic raw. Okay? Sleeves is just raw. So when you in the category of raw, they let you wear those neoprene knee sleeves. Strong Slingshot make them, SBD makes them. The few, but make sure you check with whatever organization you're lifting in the approved apparel. You could be buying knee sleeves that aren't approved in your organization, so make sure you always check. And you don't want to be wasting money thinking that these knee wraps are great and you get over there, they don't allow them. But we're going to cover that later on what's, at least in a USPA meet, what's allowed. Now the second one goes into, should I hire a coach? Now this is, again, I've given you a program that you can follow that you don't need a coach for. But certainly, if you feel like you want a coach and someone looking at you, making suggestions, who am I to argue? It really depends on you, your confidence in yourself, your ability to get to the gym, and your ability to make the training. If you're one of those people that need someone to be accountable to, by all means. How to choose a coach? Well, I'm not used to online training. I only like coaches in person, so that's up to you guys. But I don't think a training regimen getting ready for a meet should, if you get a coach and he sends you a bucket list of things to be training with, I think it's too much. So be careful of what coach you choose. because strength training is not volume training. You should keep everything simple because your body, I'm not even kidding, a month in, it's going to be very tired from all the work you're doing with the 5x5. So that's my 2 cents on the coaching. If you've never, ever squatted, benched, or deadlift, obviously you're going to need someone to coach you through those movement patterns to make sure you can do them correctly. That's another story. But if you're already used to squatting, benching, and deadlifting, then save yourself some money, stick with this linear progression 5x5, get through your first meet. If you're at a meet, you can always be introduced to people, make connections there, and decide if you like what some particular coach is doing for his athletes. But it depends on your finances and what you really want out of it. Anything else? Man, all right. So we'll be done in about 20 minutes. This will be great. And we've already covered what is my 1 rep max. Everybody understand that formula and how to obtain that number? You can always do a 1 rep max even before if you really want to know what it is, but if you don't, and you just want an indicator and you have a week or 2 old 3 rep max, you can use that to get your theoretical 1 RM and train off of that number. So now we're going to get to a little bit more of the technical side of a meet, understanding the commands, what they expect of you as an athlete. And so we can cover that now, and I want each and every person here, we carry the exact competition racks that USPA uses for a reason. This way, anyone squatting on these and benching on these will know their rack heights. That's a very important thing to know when you go to a meet. They're going to ask you your age, your weight class, and your squat height. And when you squat, they don't use these, so you don't have to worry about that. And they're going to ask you your bench rack height and your safety rack height. And everybody today, we can get those numbers for you. So that's a good thing to always know and write those down. So when you go to meets, anyone who uses the ER, you already know what you'll need, okay? All right, so let's just use the time to get everyone's rack heights, and then we'll go over the commands and what they expect of you when you're squatting and benching and deadlifting. And there's particular commands that you're going to need to hear so that you don't bomb out. Because you can be very good at squatting and just not be very good at commands. You could get your squat racket too soon, or you could miss small things. And that's another thing I want to cover is the little details. If you're at a meet and you're without a coach, your coach should know this. But if you're by yourself and you do a lift and you get a red light, don't just assume what that red light is. Always ask that particular judge what the red light was for. I've seen people do a squat and go, oh, it's my depth. And the next time they go to sink it, they go way low, then they get stuck in the hole, and it wasn't even a depth issue. They could have had their knee sleeve too high. They could have had a non-lockout upon starting the squat. They could have left, they could have had illegal garments on. So it really just depends. Always ask if you have a red light, hey, what did you get me for? Oh, when you came up, the bar was still shaky. A judge might see one, I've seen it, a judge might see something that the 2 other judges, because there's 3 that are judging you, front and sides. So always ask why you have a red light. Never assume what it's for. Immediately. Yeah. So you come up, you're going to see the light system, or sometimes it's cards, but you'll know exactly. And just find out. So you know for yourself for the next lift. I've seen it where you're benching and you're at that slight bend before you start, and they'll call you for that. Or they give you the start command and you go, and if the bar goes up and down, that's a red light. So make sure you understand it, but we'll cover that. And we'll just start.
Chris, how do you know which judge is throwing the red light?
So, you have a judge on each side of you in the front, and the light system is as such. That judge is that far light, middle judge, far judge. But again, some meets, let's say you don't do a USPA meet, you just go to some local gym to do your first meet because you feel it's not going to be so busy, it's going to be a little bit more intimate. They might just hold up cards, and that's a little easier to understand because you can just walk over to the judge. Now, if all three give you a red light, normally that usually would indicate some kind of inefficiency in you either didn't touch your chest or the lift failed entirely. But if it's one judge, certainly ask. I mean, you can always ask on all three, but it's most important that you don't just assume what it is and make some false assumption and not get it right. So a couple of things. Always ask, but always on your first lifts, even if you want to, I don't want to use this term, but sandbag it a little bit just to get through the first lift, because there's a lot of stress out there if you're not used to squatting in front of hundreds of people and the judge. Yes. Sandbag means, let's say in the gym, you squat 225 for 6, right? No big deal. But you want to open with that at the meet because it's very comfortable for you. That would be a little sandbagging because it's not. Here's why. You kind of want to open at a weight that's right around that 85 to 90% range. Mathematically, how it seems to work for a human being biologically is you can usually get 90% of your weight for 3 reps, give or take. So in powerlifting, you're always trying to get the maximum amount of weight on the platform, right? So you don't really want to sandbag. You don't want to just go, I went 9 for 9, because it's 3 lifts for 3 different attempts. So you get 3 attempts at all 3 different categories, right? So you can go full 9 for 9, and there's people that are proud of that. But what if they're sandbagging? They're not actually really trying. So that's all that means. Nothing wrong with doing that on your opener, but just understand if you're really trying to end well and get a maximum amount, and I don't mean 100%, you should still always keep it about 98%. Because the last thing you want to do is push it to the point that it makes the other 2 lifts difficult. So for squat, I always say squat up to about a 98%. And that's an easy formula to understand. Because if you know your theoretical 1 RM, you're just going to take a % or 2 off that and kind of try to end there. Does that make sense? I mean, what do you squat? You're a pretty good, no, she's a good bench. It would be like you opening up with a 95-pound bench. I've seen you hit 140 like no problem. So that would be sandbagging. But I don't mind that on your first attempt because there's a lot of nerves going on, and the bench is the most technical lift because there's so little room for error on that lift. And it's the only paused lift in the meet, okay? And it'll be one less thing you have to think about. So you're going to want to come under the bar and approach it like, get under and squat it like you would. So we can see from here, she wants to go down.
She's my height.
Let's put her to 10. The beauty of this is they're going to be changing these so quick at meets. Come up one more. No, Brett, come up. I'm going to go down one more to 9. No, you can hold it for me. So when you rack it, that's easy. You don't want to be in a position, especially when the bar is loaded. Remember, as it's loaded, it's going to be even a lot heavier. So you don't want to just skimp by. You want to be able to, as soon as they say rack it, fall into that system. Because they're all going to bring you in, but you don't want to ever clip it. But you also don't want to be, I've seen people, because they were lazy and didn't want to get their rack heights. I saw a guy 6'4", walk under some 5'11" guy's rack and went, that's fine. And then when he goes out to the meet, he's like this, and he's got to pull 600 out of the thing like that, and they call him, because now they got to change the rack heights. So be sure to take the time now. We'll get this set up correctly, and that way you're ready at a meet. So how they're going to judge this? Whoa. Go ahead. Remember, these are not used in on the squat, so they'll be missing. You'll just have a back judge and 2 side judge. That's it. You only get a 3-step walkout, so we'll cover that next too. They'll say squat, if you can. That's okay. Then you come back up to a stationary position, then they say rack, and then everybody goes in, and that's it. That's the 2 commands for the squat. It's a squat and rack. But they're always looking for full lockout, full control. And you only get a 3-step walkout. And I'll cover that, how it should look. Once you unrack the weight, and you can take your time here to set up. Don't rush it, you got 1 minute. You get your setup, you unrack the weight. The best rule of thumb is slide, don't take the foot off, slide it back, and then slide this one, and then you get 1 more for a last setup. But make very minimal steps. Save your energy, because they'll actually red light you if you take too many steps. People don't know that. They squat, they rack it, they get a red light, they don't understand why. You get 3 steps. They want to keep you close to here, because if the shit goes down, they want to get it on the bar. They don't want it on the floor. I've seen people break arms and knock themselves out and really get hurt. So they just, it's a slide back, it's a position and a position. That's it. Get ready. Hold very still, fully locked out, tight. He will say, squat. That does not mean you have to squat at that exact moment, but that means now they're all ready for you to squat. I've seen people panic, they say squat and they go into it. Don't do that. Get your composure, take your time, get your breath, then squat, come back up and hold it stable, and then he will say rack. And they always give visual commands too. He'll say squat and rack, just in case, because you're gonna laugh. But you don't hear shit when you get out there, and there's everybody out there. You don't hear anything. So you might just, like me, I just get tunnel vision, so I just see those hands and barely hear anything. But wait for those commands, because they can cost you. I've seen so many people, and they're struggling too much on their open or squat. They set the bar too high, and as soon as they come up, they just want to rack it. Don't be that person. So when you're training and prepping for the meet, every rep, stop, reset, squat again. Same with the bench. Prep yourself so that you're ready for these commands, because they're just a night and day difference when you're at the meet. Okay? Okay. Then they would just simply say squat. You would do your lift. There is no command to come up. You go down and up. And then when they see you stable, rack. Now, obviously, if you don't get the lift, he's going to call it, and they're all coming in fast. So just be prepared, but never leave the bar. Don't throw the bar on them. You stay with the bar. Now, they'll tell you this at 9 o'clock. They have a big thing, and they go over the rules. Never leave the bar. Stay with it. One girl tried to dump it. It was our second meet. She was a low bar squatter, tried to dump it. The guy was hanging on, and the bar didn't clear, and it broke her elbow. So stay with the weight. We don't dump weight, especially on the spotters. They don't like that. So let's go ahead, since I have them in, let's get them in.
What difference does it make to have them in?
So as I was explaining, he likes, especially those big guys, right? You've seen these big guys. They look like shaved down polar bears. They'll actually even grab all the way out here. Well, if this is out, they're going to smash their hands. So this equipment allows this to move in, so you can come under here, you can keep your comfortable grip, and you don't have to worry about when you're racking to hit and take out your thumb. You can just come in, set it down, and get out. So it's really just designed depending on your shoulder mobility. But these racks allow that to happen. When you come in, obviously it's too tall for me. When you come in, I don't really go back further than here, because I just squat straight down. So when they say rack it, I'm coming into the weight. So I like to make sure that it's not so high that can't happen. But you don't want it so low that you're hitting it too high either. You want to hit it somewhere around this mark. But that's why they don't want you so far back, because if anything happens and they need to take it, Especially people start pulling 300, 400, 500 pounds. That's a lot to heave into this rack. So keep that in mind. That's why they want you to make 3 small steps. So you're usually squatting right here. You do your squat, you come up, and then I fall into the rack. So while we're on the squat, we'll talk about a couple of acceptable items that you're allowed to wear. One is knee sleeves if you're raw, and knee wraps if you're classic raw. That's allowed. You have to have shoes, and if you're squatting in heels, I believe it cannot be more than 1.5 inches. Okay? But double check with your organization and see what the maximum allowed heel is if you squat with heels. You have to have socks, singlet in most organizations. Some local gyms don't require that, but USPA does.
When you squat,
USAPL.
what's the height of the socks for the squat?
Well, nothing can go over the knee, but I just wear normal socks. It doesn't matter. Anyone like those shoes, all Converse, Vans, Merrells, wrestling shoes are acceptable. And then again, you can use a squatted heel as long as it doesn't have over whatever their requirements are. But I believe it's 1.5 inches in the USPA. You're also allowed in USPA elbow sleeves for those that tuck really tight. You're allowed to wear an elbow sleeve to keep your elbows and protect them, and you're still allowed to wear wrist straps for those that have wrist problems. That's all allowed during a squat. And a belt. But make sure your belt is approved for your organization. You can't just show up with any belt. It can only be a maximum of 13 millimeters thick. I don't think they have a thinness, but it can't be more than 13 mil thick. And it can't be more than 4 inches wide either, 4 inches tall. But usually like the Pioneers, Rogue, Strong, those seem to all be fine, but you can't get it too thick. I know they've not allowed certain belts, if they're super thick, they'll actually measure them at the table and tell you they're not allowed. Okay. And since we're on gear, before we go and get everyone's bench height, we'll talk about you're allowed to wear a belt. Your feet still have to be on the ground when you bench, but they don't require heels as of yet to be touching. Your ass cannot come off the pad. You're not allowed to wear any kind of elbow sleeve when benching, but you're allowed wrist wraps. And obviously the approved singlet. And if you gentlemen wear underwear, you have to show them the underwear you'll be wearing the day of the meet.
Women have to show it too.
But usually, I mean...
They ask us to show the underwear.
No, I know, but guys sometimes wear boxers, and boxers are not allowed. You have to wear briefs or commando. So one or the other, yeah. Yeah, you can't wear your boxers.
I found out the majority...
Can't wear anything. Yeah, they don't want someone sneaking something into the shorts. Like some people wear compression shorts. That's worth 10 pounds on your squat right there. Worth 10 pounds on your squat. If you wear compression shorts, yeah. So you're allowed briefs, tighty-whities, or some kind of brief. You know, just your typical whatever men underwear, but no boxers, and you have to show them, or you can go commando. No. No.
Cover your leg in anything.
That's right. The tighty-whitey is the biggest pair of underwear, or you can wear something smaller. I forget what they're called, but that's all that's allowed, or just go without.
Jockstrap?
No. No, you can't wear like the cycling shorts or anything underneath your singlet or anything. No boxers. And make sure if you're shopping for a singlet, most organizations require a singlet. Make sure that it's approved from your organization. Usually there's a few companies. You can go on Rogue or liftinglarge.com. They already have them. Anything usually IPL or IPF approved will be USPA approved. So take that into consideration. If it says IPF approved, the USPA will usually already have that approved as well. We're singlets, okay? Yeah, because I squatted in mine last year.
Which one?
Our singlets. But we got ours from Mattman, right?
Mattman.
Yeah, you can go to Mattman's website. You can get custom singlets done as well. I mean, it's not, the singlet's funny because it has to be a certain height too. And here's another thing: if you have a singlet and you're wearing knee sleeves, they can't come in contact with one another anytime during your squat, or that's disqualified as well. So make sure that you have plenty of gap if you're wearing knee sleeves, that it doesn't come up and meet your singlet. If you have a low-cut singlet, there has to be a distance there.
Chris, for squats, it's a shirt as well, right?
Yeah, everyone has to wear a t-shirt for squatting and benching, but not for deadlifting. Except women, they probably still want to wear their shirt. USTA, like SBDs, Strong, I mean, there's a pretty large group of approved apparel, okay? But make sure you always check on your organization's website. Not the product website, the organization you're going to be lifting in, this website.
So USPA.net if it's USPA.
Yeah. You can't just go on to slingshot.com and buy some knee sleeves because they said they were approved. The organization that you're lifting in must say they're approved. Does that make sense? Is that what you were asking? Huh? No, they are. Strongs are, but I'm just saying I would never take a company's word for it. I would always check the organization that you're going to be lifting in, what they approve. You know, you never know. And the last thing you want to do is be showing up and you can't wear the apparel that you just paid a boatload of money for. Because sometimes they could have been approved last year, and that could be an old website, and not be approved for 2018 or 2019. So that's the other thing. Right at the turn of the year, double check and make sure that your product is still approved, because some people don't want to re-up their fee and have their product approved for the following year. So don't be caught like that. It's a USPA meet. Yeah, we signed up with the USP organization to hold meets here through them, okay? On bench, everybody uses the same bar, which is the blue one. This bar is what everybody uses, male and female, and no matter what weight you are, everybody uses, this is the bench bar, okay? Colette, we'll just start with you again.
So I do want to bring something up on garments. When you weigh in the day before, I see a lot of people panic because they went commando for weigh-in, or ladies, they're wearing a G-string if they're embarrassed. So weigh-in day, wear like, you know, the boy shorts, because you're going to be bare when they weigh you. You're going to have your sports bra and your underwear. That's all you get. And when I've seen like women going, oh my God, I have a G-string, I already see my ass. Just expect, wear something that you're comfortable.
Will weigh in your underwear.
Yeah.
When you go to get your safety bar heights, these are two heights you have to give them for your squat, for your bench. The bench height and the safety rack height. They're only looking for it to clear your neck, not your chest. If it touches this at any time during the lift, it's a red light. So you're clearly much higher here than your neck, and that's all we care about, because you can turn your face sideways and at least it doesn't kill you and take your teeth out. I'd rather break a rib than new dental work, okay? The other important thing is to make sure you feel comfortable here on the unrack. I know some people like it super high, but I'll tell you, as the weight gets heavier and heavier, you want to be able to unrack it and not have an issue racking or unracking.
Same thing.
Here's the thing, and this is no joke. Alex got called for it. We didn't know why. If the command after bench, once the weight comes out, take your breath and get set before they say start, because it's a 3-command lift. Okay, it's start, bench, rack. If they say start and you go, that's a red light. We've had it happen. So make sure that you take and get fully set up before they say start. And what I do when I spot my people is I'm allowed to unrack the weight for you, set it in your hand. At that moment, before I step away, get your breath. Because when I step away, they know that shit's heavy. They're going to start calling you quick. So if you got a coach, I would work on that ASAP. They call these quick. These meets are long. They got to get this stuff going. So when I hand the weight off to my client or whoever I'm coaching, I have them take their breath and get set, because when I step away, they're going to start that lift if they see that bar stable. They will not start the lift if you're moving around. So make sure that you have full control, locked in, breath taken. You can hold your breath for 15 seconds, don't panic. Start, bench, rack, 3-command lift. Oh, yeah, one other thing, sorry. If you and your coach are both new to this, at no point can he touch your body part, any part of your hands, head, anything, once you're seated on the bench, okay? I got called because my buddy at the last minute slapped my arms, and they actually called it right there and goes, listen, I'm gonna give you one warning. So you can't get any more, all the pep has to be over there, and you can't do anything about fixing your garment once you've sat on the bench. Like you can't do your wrist wraps or anything. That has to be done before you sit. So make sure when you're walking out to sit, you're ready to lift. You're gonna sit, get your mind right, lean back, set up, and bench.
So pretty much when they call you in the hole,
You should be ready.
so if they say,
On deck, in the hole.
in the hole,
It means you're next.
yeah. Be ready.
All right. Just weird stuff. So,
You said the minutes. Is the minute?
the minute they call your name.
No. You said each minute to set up. Is that a minute prior to the first command, or the minute to complete the entire
The
lift?
minute they call your name, they start the timer.
Like, do you get the minute to complete your lift, or like before the?
To unrack it.
Oh.
To unrack it. So, for example, you shouldn't be one of these people, lollygagging around. You're always gonna be out by 3. Now, here's what's really cool about USPA now. They've gotten very nice setup since when I first started 6 years ago. In the back, they have a whole list, and you can constantly see where you're at. 6 out, 5 out, right? At 3 out, you need to be really getting ready, because you'll be on, in the hole or on deck. I forget which one it is. So, you're there. You should be getting ready. When you're the next one, this is when I'm finishing up the wrap or whatever, get my mind right, chalking up. Then when she finishes, they're going to set the weight, set the bar right. Sometimes you may be the exact same as that girl. Same weight, same everything. They may be calling you. The minute they say platform ready and your name is called, that's when the timer starts. So you have 1 minute to come down, set, and just get the weight unwrapped. They stop it as soon as the weight's unwrapped. That's why you don't have to rush. You get your setup. You got a full minute to get your setup in and unwrap it.
It does feel like a while.
You're fine. And look, they're really going to be easy with you, if you're here and ready. They're not going to be, come on. But what they can't stand is that you're not ready and they're calling your name. So-and-so platform ready. It just kills the meet. If you're going to this meet, be ready, because now they got monitors in the back and you know where you're at. All right. So I would scoot out some. My rule of thumb is I like to look at the bar. So when I set myself up, I'm setting my eyes right under this bar. It may feel a little weird, but this is only for 3 lifts, and you're going to get someone unracking it for you. But this way, we know we're not going to hit anything. Because believe me, as soon as they say rack it, everybody's coming in. But we don't want to. I've seen people hit this, and that sucks. You could be grinding, things get a little weary, you clip it, automatic red light. But if you were just a little bit out, and you're struggling and you get it up, it's a lift. So we want to set ourselves up for success, not small problems that could be avoided. All right, so let's talk about a couple of things that you might not know as far as Arriving, you set your meet date, you know what you're supposed to be there. The day before are weigh-ins on USPA meets, the day before. Check your event. If it's a one-day event and it's usually on a Saturday, you'll be weighing in Fridays. Everybody. You don't want to miss that. You can't show up Saturday expecting to lift because weigh-ins are also gear checks, so bring everything on weigh-ins. Everything. Shoes, deadlift socks, they can't go above the knee. Your undergarments, belt, any wrist wraps or knee sleeves you'll be wearing, or knee wraps, okay? All have to go through checkout upon weigh-ins. Now, if you are new to this, I wouldn't worry about making weight too much. Just lift in whatever weight category you're at for your first couple of meets, and then you can start really targeting a class if you think you have a shot at a state record or what have you. But let's say you're the first, there's usually A, B, and C, sometimes D, depending on the number of lifters. But usually there's A flight, B flight, usually C, sometimes D. A flight is the first flight. They start at 9 a.m. If you are A flight, you want to get there around 7:30. You're going to be nervous. You want to get yourself situated and calm. Start your warm-up process. If you're a person that needs 20 minutes of foam rolling, band work, treat it as such. Use that time. I use it like a regular squat day. This is how I treat a meet. I know my exact warm-up time to get to my opening weight. You might want to start working on that now. If you need an hour, take an hour. If you're a person that can go in and you're all warmed up and ready to go in 30 minutes, only take 30 minutes. You don't want to be fully warmed up, waiting around for 40 minutes to be squatting. Time it appropriately, yes.
So if I know what class you're in,
No. So when you sign up for a meet, they will email you out usually a couple of days before the meet starts, usually like a Wednesday, and you're going to get your flight. A, B, C, sometimes D, depending on, but usually it's just A, B, C. There's usually between 10 and 14 lifters in a flight. So what that means is, and people don't realize this, there's 10 plus minutes in between each of your lifts. Get accustomed to that. If you're one of those people that thinks you're going to be squatting every 3 minutes and you're used to that, and you're not used to that 10-minute rest period, start training that way so that your body's used to that before the meet. There's generally 10 minutes minimum in between each. Now, it don't seem that way when you're waiting, believe me, it's fast, but if there's 14 lifters, it's 14 minutes, give or take, in between each of your lifts. And here's another thing, be prepared that just because you were the second squatter on the opening round, that you're not going to be changed positions depending on how much weight you add to your lift. I've seen people drop or change 2 people. You could go from the second squatter to the fourth, or even the first. So pay attention to that in the back. They're always going to announce it, 4 out, 3 out, 2 out. But in the back, they have the rotation as you're going through flight A. So you can see they're like, oh shit, I'm squatting fourth now, not second. Make sure you prep yourself mentally for that. That's happened a couple of times. If you're a big jumper on squatter, let's say, like I say, you sandbag your opener, but you go, no, I really want to get that 250 squat, but you open with 175, you're going to have to make bigger jumps to get your end goal. And your big jump may put you further down the list because they go according to weight so that it's easier for the loaders. So they go always lightest to heaviest, not body weight, weight on the bar. You could be squatting behind someone 300 pounds if they're only squatting 80 pounds. That makes sense? So they go according to weight on the bar. So always check your rotation. It could change on you, and you don't want to be out getting a drink of water and they're calling you to the platform and you don't have chalk, your wrist wraps, or anything ready. So just understand that once you start your flight, aside from having to go to the bathroom, just stay ready, stay meet ready for that 30 minutes, because that's about how long it's going to be. Just be prepared to stay focused for 30 minutes, get it over with, then go prep yourself. So let's get back to food. I highly recommend, and you may even have to force feed yourself, if you're a 9 a.m. squatter, please eat about 6:30. 7 o'clock. Some people need 2 hours before they start squatting, but that's not starting squatting, that's start the competition. So you definitely need to get some solid, real solid food in you. If you're a meat eater, try to eat some eggs and bacon or whatever, and some good complex carbohydrates. If you're a vegetarian or vegan, please just get plenty of food in you so that you can not run out of gas. You will be surprised that once that adrenaline hits you, you're gonna burn through so much fucking calories, you won't even believe it. So get a good full meal. Not a big one, but just a good meal. I eat my big meal right after squats because I can bench on a somewhat full stomach. I cannot deadlift or squat on a full stomach. That's me personally, depending on how you are. Some people don't have a problem. I don't care if you have to force feed yourself. Please eat right after squats. I don't care if it's a sandwich, a hamburger, tacos, eat real food. Do not snack on gummy bears or a Pop-Tart. You gotta eat real food. And then right after squats. And then after bench, you can then just have your snacks or whatever. For deadlift, I'm a big advocate. If you're an energy drink person, have an energy drink. Load up on some salty chips or some gummy bears or something that's gonna give you a little bit of a kick but doesn't fill up your belly with a full belly because you can't deadlift on a full belly. I can't hear you. Sport. I would say only if you're dehydrated. I wouldn't salt up so badly. I'm just talking about getting enough in your system so you don't run dry on pulling. Chips, pretzels, some gummy bears, or some Sour Patch Kids or Red Bull, but something light to get through the deadlift because the 2 meals already should give you enough sustainability because then after the meet you're going to be really hungry again and you're going to go eat your dinner. So I do a nice meal, not over for breakfast, but a nice meal.
Well, also a hearty dinner before the meet.
Well, it depends on what they're trying, everyone's different. You're gonna have nerves, but you gotta eat. That's what SBD means, squat, bench, deadlift. So they do a lower, then they give your lower a break and do an upper, and then they go back to lower. Does that make sense? Now here's the crappy thing. You're gonna have adrenaline dumps on your first meet. You're gonna get a huge, huge adrenaline dump after your squats are over. You're gonna get tired. Make sure you understand that and rest. Calm yourself down and rest because then you gotta get yourself amped up again for bench and then please rest. Don't be walking around pacing, that just kills your energy. Learn to teach yourself to sit down, just relax, enjoy the competition, watch people, congratulate others, but breathe, rest, drink some water. Save your energy because your body's going to be going through some nerves on your first meet. And you want to keep that as much as you can for each of the lifts. Because as you start prepping, so normally I don't need as much prep time for bench as you do squat because obviously the weight isn't near as heavy. Understand that. Prep accordingly. If you get to your opening weight in 15 minutes, that's all you need then. Treat it as such. Don't prep and be waiting around 40 minutes, 30 minutes just because you want to go ahead and get your warm up. But let's talk about the unspoken thing that happens at meets. You show up to a goddamn meet and they got 2 places to warm up and there's 40 lifters trying to lift. That's a hard meet. And you're gonna have to sneak in your work in with 10, 20 other people. Understand that. That can happen at certain meets. So be prepared. Don't go in thinking everything's gonna be great when you got 10, there's only 10 lifters and there's 10 squat rigs. This is our gym. So understand some gyms are terrible. You get 2 places to warm up, maybe 3, and they got 90 lifters on the day. So plan that accordingly. My suggestion is if it's a 2-day lift, or at least watch the meets online, but the guys, you get the best benefit because you get to weigh in, especially if it's a 2-day lift, and watch the meet and see how they run the meet and see how it's handled. Women don't always get that. So that's kind of sucky for them. Because they lift, and the light guys, you'll be lifting day 1 too. What are you, 165? Yeah.
150?
Oh crap, 145? What's your weight class?
Oh, I'm gonna get
165 is fine. But you'll be lifting this first day, so you won't get a chance to watch a meet, generally. Okay?
so heavier,
198s and up usually lift on the second day, if it's depending on the number of people. Our meet here is a one-day meet. That's why you need to maybe go online and just watch some meets just to see how it's done. Only because, I mean, you just get a better sense. We can talk till the cows come home, but it's just nice to watch a couple.
Ballpark timetable, so like if the flight starts at 9, so that's when squat starts. So
Let's say you're flight B, and they got 11 or 12 lifters in each flight. You're only going to have about 35, 40 minutes before you're lifting. Before you're lifting in flight B. So how much time do you need to warm up to your opening weight is up to you. What if you're the type of person that only needs 10 minutes? Does that make sense? Most flights are somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes long. Now don't start prepping for, I'll give y'all some tips too to ask. If it's a 3-flight meet and it's a 2-day meet, that means it's a big meet, okay? If you go to one of those, don't hesitate to ask, are you taking a lunch after squats? Sometimes they do. Because you don't want to be watching Flight C squat and you start prepping for your bench and then they take a 30-minute lunch. Never be afraid to ask questions. Hey, are y'all taking a lunch after squats today, or y'all just going right into it? They'll tell you, oh, we're going to go right into it. Then you know, if you're flight A, after your squats, when flight C starts their squatting, you start prepping your bench. Get your mind right, get everything ready, get yourself warmed up. I don't know how long you need. Each person's different. I need an hour. I need an hour to get up to my weight because, you know, I'm getting close to the 500 range on bench. I need that time. It takes me a long warm-up. If it takes you 15 minutes, prep accordingly. You don't want to be waiting around, getting that adrenaline dumping into your system and tax yourself out and not get your opener because you just had an adrenaline dump. That's going to happen to some of you. So stay calm, warm up accordingly to whatever your opener is.
okay, so flight A, B, and C all squats, and
Then they start bench, and then they start deadlifts. So they get all the benching out of the way on all flights first. Most meets that I've been to take a lunch. They take a quick 15. Sometimes they may only take a break, but they'll announce it, but always ask. You don't want to be ready and prepped and they go, oh, we're going to be taking a 30-minute lunch, and you're ready to bench. I've seen people make that mistake. Last Pendleton, we had to eat sandwiches and stuff, but they gave us plenty of time before the benching started. So always ask your meet director when you get there. They're going to let you know, because they're going to know. These guys, they do these meets all the time. If they're looking at 60 lifters that day and it's a 2-day lift, they're taking a lunch. That's a long day, and they're not going to try to get all that in without eating. They got to eat too, you know. So understand that. Always bring food. Don't expect that you're going to go somewhere, oh, and then I'll pop out and run down and get me something. You may be out in the middle of BFZ. We were out at this one warehouse at a CrossFit gym, and there was nothing local. Like, other than a restaurant, we weren't going to go there. So I get in the habit of bringing sandwiches. I bring a big hearty sandwich. We bring lots of chips. We bring our own drinks, and I bring oranges or bananas, anything for quick energy, things like
Always
that.
bring extra. It's better to have
Yeah, you can always take it home. Boy, you don't want to be caught though. Just now, sometimes they're very nice. They have a catering truck there. They're serving burgers, but not always.
We will.
Of course we will. I mean, this meet's going to be ran away. But look what we've learned all the hard stuff.
Yeah.
That's why we want to make sure everybody here has a nice time. And there's plenty of warm up, and you have the proper equipment, and you're not, being fucked over because you don't have time to warm up because there's 2 warm up platforms and you got 14 people trying to warm up on one place, and that happened. And it's brutal trying to squeeze in your weight, going, oh, wait, take that red one off. I need to get another set.
Chaos.
It gets crazy. And then it throws you off of your game. Then you're upset and nervous. You didn't get to do your last warm-up. They're calling you to the platform. So we want to make sure that you're mentally prepared for all sorts of shit. Or you go to a gym and they got the worst bars, slippery floors, inaccurate weights, and you're stuck warming up with a bent bar. Expect that too. Expect that too. Crappy crap. And then you get up there, and then all of a sudden you get all this nice equipment. Just get your mind right. I like to do this for myself on prep. I personally rack and bench and lift with weird weights, bad setups, so I don't get caught into everything being perfect. I purposely do that to myself, and I took that off of the greatest swimmer of our generation, Michael Phelps' coach. He would purposely hide Michael Phelps' goggles. He would make him work out with no sleep. He would, he would put stuff on his swim cap to make his head itch. He made him train under bad scenarios, so that if anything, you go to the Olympics and you're looking for your cap, you're not freaking out. So don't be afraid. It doesn't always have to be a perfect day. Learn to train under crappy circumstances, okay? At least you won't be so unprepared when you go to some of these gyms or some of these meets and they're ran terribly. What else is there? The deadlift?
Yep.
All right. Right down here in front of us is the bar that USPA uses. It is the deadlift bar. The reason they use it, it aids the lifter in lifting slightly more weight because it lets you pull slack out of the bar. And every inch you can gain, it's less range of motion you have to pull, more weight you can potentially add to your lift. But understand, yes? Huh? So, lift it with this bar. You feel how kind of whippy it is? If we were to load 500 pounds on here and I start to lift it, that bar will move before the weight comes off of the ground. That's slack. Like ready? Here's your shoelace. All right? There's slack. But if I pull it tight, it's less slack. These bars are designed to be able to pull a lot of slack out of the bar. So you get to a really good position, then your range of motion is short. Now for the deadlift, there is no rack height, there's no nothing. It's one command, down. That's it. They don't tell you when to lift. They say, platform ready, your name. You come out here. There's the 3 judges. The weight's out there. You just get yourself ready and pull. You got 1 minute to get that weight off the ground. Now don't rush yourself. Take your time. If they see you out here getting ready, they're not going to go. But if they're calling your name, they start the timer. Okay? But if you're waiting in the hole and you come over here, you can take yourself, get your setup, get yourself tight, pull, do your thing. The command and hand signal is down. You cannot drop the weight. That's the red line. You must control the weight down, and then once it stops, then you let it go. If you drop it and it moves, it's a red light. You have to set the weight down under your control and be stable. Here's the other problem. You have to be able to walk off the platform. If you pass out, it's a red light. You have to be able to walk off the platform under your own power. If they catch you, it's a red light. You must wear deadlift socks. If you show up without deadlift socks, even if the lift is good, it's a red light. You have to have deadlift socks. They must cover the calf, but they cannot go over the knee. And you're allowed wrist straps when you deadlift. And I believe if you're a classic, raw squatter, and you wear knee wraps, you can knee wrap, and I believe you can even wear knee sleeves if you choose to. But I don't, so I'm not entirely, but I know you can wear wrist wraps 100%. Second thing is they do not allow hitching. For those of you who don't know what a hitch is, if you are pulling, if you get the weight to right here and you lean back and drag the weight up, that is a hitch. This can happen straight up, but if they see you lean back in any way and hitch, or it does this, the bar goes, you come up, down, and then finish out the lift, it's still a red light. The bar cannot go up or down at any moment the lift is over. You can still choose for your own benefit to rack it for your self-gratification, but the lift will not count. My suggestion, if that is your second attempt and the bar goes up and down, don't finish the lift, let it go, save it for the third attempt. I've seen too many people, because of ego, I can fucking get it, right? And then they go out there. Remember, you can reattempt. Shit just happens. Maybe you just weren't tight enough. You started to pull. You weren't ready for the slack in the bar, because these bars whip. Means you pull, the weight comes off the ground. If you're pulling fast, the weight does this, and that can pull out of your hands. And that causes people to go down to recatch, and then they can handle the weight, they just weren't ready for the whip. So I suggest, if you've never pulled on a deadlift bar, try to find a facility and work up to a decent weight, an 80-85%, and pull it for a few sets of 3 to understand what it's like to pull on that bar. That's why we have them here, so you can be meet ready. Right, Colette?
Yeah.
Sure. Now, you're allowed to wear deadlift slippers. You want to be as low to the ground as possible. I don't recommend any type of tall shoe at all. Wrestling shoes are fine, Merrells are fine, or deadlift slippers. Some people like Converse. I'm not a fan. You want to be low to the ground. Less range of motion you move as possible. Now there's conventional and sumo pullers. But no matter what, the bar can never go up and down. You can never hitch. You can't stop, bounce, and pull. That's still considered up and down or hitching. Always wait for their command. Don't think you locked it out and set it down without that command. And I would be sure to always lock knees, lock back, down. I would always, unless your grip is slipping, give it that second. These side judges, I've seen them, the front judge will say down, and they red light people because they say their knees aren't locked out. Mentally give yourself that full 1 second count and just make sure you're locked in. You can go down fast, but you have to hold on to the weight, control it to the ground, and keep the weight stable. Any questions?
You can't drop it.
You can't drop it. You can go down fast with it, but you have to hold it the whole time, bring it to a standstill, then walk off the platform. Then they give you your light because they want to see you leave the platform. If you faint on the platform, it's a red light, and plenty of people do. What else are we missing?
Question about conventional and sumo.
Sure.
So all meets you just choose one.
That is correct. That is up to you.
Got it.
In the organization, most powerlifting organizations allow both of them. I don't know of any powerlifting that doesn't allow sumo. Strongman competitions, ironically, don't allow sumo. Only conventional.
Do you want to go through how to weight cut?
Not for the. Besides, the smartest thing to do on a weight cut anyway is a 2-week water cut. You don't want to be sitting here dropping calories, losing muscle tissue. You'd rather trick your body. So if you really want to know what a 2-week water cut is, it's better just to Google it and look at what wrestlers do. They're the best at it. You're just adding up to 1.5 gallons a day. That first week, your body gets acclimated to that, thinks there's a lot of water coming in, and then you just take it out all the way down to the meat, so your body's still thinking there's 1.5 gallons coming in, so you get rid of a lot more water, and you're only taking in a little bit by weigh-ins. That's the easiest method, but I don't recommend that your first meet. Just show up, be natural, be what your body's used to lifting at. Don't try to sit there and be Superman and I'm 185, I'm going to lift into 165. So I mean, that a 20-pound weight cut is too much. It's just not going to happen. Just lift in the 181s or the 198s. 4 pounds is not a big deal. I can just miss a meal and drop 4 pounds. But if you're not that type of person, then my suggestion is just stay where you're at. Whatever, if you happen to weigh 184, you're going to be in the 198s unless you want to really drop the 3 pounds. But again, unless you're setting a record, does it matter? You're really going there for yourself, for your own numbers. You're testing yourself. And unless you want to take this competitively and try to set state records or American records, then you'll find the weight class that you can be very competitive in. But the first couple, just go there to have fun, test yourself, and get the maximum weight that you can get on the platform out of it, and being very comfortable with yourself. And stick to a simple method for your first meet. Don't do anything elaborate. There's no method that works better anyway than the 3s and 5s anyway. A simple linear progression builds more strength than any other program that they've tested. Off-season training, you want to get your volume up, you want to put some hypertrophy in, get some shape, do some fun stuff, that's fine. But meet preps, keep it simple, get more direct, just like they do, just like all top-end athletes do. You're not going to see Usain Bolt doing anything dramatic before the Olympics. He's going to be working on his little sprints, doing his little cues, that's it. We want to get rid of all the mumbo jumbo and just keep it simple so that way if something's going wrong, there's less to fix. If your numbers aren't going up, am I not sleeping enough? Am I not eating enough? Did I program myself too high? What am I doing wrong? It should be a progression for at least 5 or 6 weeks before you hit a little hiccup. That's generally what happens. Before that deadlift or something hits where you go, fuck, this is getting heavy. But we need to see at least a month and a half in before that happens. If you're not, then you're just really, usually it's sleep and food. Okay, so here's a great one. If you're not a competitive, sure, if you do not compete, but you want to test your maxes, which you should, once or twice a year only. If you're testing all the time, you're not going to have enough room to show any kind of progression. So if you don't compete, but you do want to know that you're heading in the right direction for your goals, whatever they are, you should test yourself once or twice a year. But if you compete, if you're regularly competing in 2 or more meets, you'll never test your max. You save that for the meet. You never test your max in a seasonal training system where you're competing. The meet is going to test your max. The programs will show you where you're going. The meet will tell you if your program worked, but you're not going to, there's too many people I know max out before the meet. I don't know what for. The numbers really don't lie. I'll give you an example. The second competition I did, I squatted at 601. I never squatted over 525 in the gym. But it was a 525 for 5. That tells you right there, that's a 611. That's a 611 max. And I didn't push it. If you watch my 600, it was down and up. But again, I like to save room for the other 2 lifts. There's nothing worse than watching somebody on their opener squat. They're trying to set some world record. They've never even touched that weight before on their opener. Don't do that to yourself. Get a weight you can do for 3 reps on your worst day. You have a shitty day, you know, I can only squat 400. 400 is my go-to number. I'm hoping to do 475 at the meet. Well, that's an easy jump. 400, 440, 475. I make the second jump a little bit bigger. And if you think of it in a simple terms of, oh, it's just a couple of 10s each side. That's usually not hard to deal with. In bench, it's usually a little less, 10 pounds each side. 5 for women maybe. But you want to still be somewhere in that 85 to 90 percentile on your opener, so you know what the weight feels like. And I treat it as my warm-up, as that would be my next logical progression on my next set. Does that make sense? Only instead of doing it for 3, I'll be doing it for a single. So if I'm warming up to meet, I get to probably 65%. I'm only doing singles. I don't need to be doing a bunch of reps. I want to conserve my energy for that max effort last squat and that 98, 99 percentile. Never 100%, because 100% can either hurt us or cause a failure. And that's fine if you're going for a world record or a state record, but not in your first meet. Finish out at about a 98%. Finish strong, save it for the bench, save it for the deadlift. Oh, yeah, good.
I'm going to ask you if anything besides training or not.
Say it one more time.
Talk to you.
Absolutely, I'm always always here to answer any question. Anything that we can help you out with, please don't hesitate to ask. Oh, sure. I hope it was informative. Good.
When I stand in the weight class, from 235 and the 110 class.
You're in the 242s.
So long as I don't go below.
Over 242.
Low.
Well, lower, you'll just drop down. Now, here's the other thing. Don't be telling somebody that you're gonna, let's say you're 130 pounds. Well, I'm gonna lift in the 105 category, like women. I'm gonna make it to 105. Here's the problem. If you sign up for 105s and you weigh in 2 categories up, they won't even let you compete. You're only allowed 1 category change if you miss weight. There was a guy I knew who weighed 265. He thought he was gonna make it to the 220s for his first meet. I go, what are you doing? He didn't make it past 253 on his. So he didn't even get to work out. Didn't even get to lift. They don't let you jump 2 weight classes. You can miss weight, but only by 1 category upper. Make sense? So for you, if you're 230 and you're comfortable with that weight, I wouldn't change a thing for your first meet. Don't get me wrong, the 240, those guys are so freaking strong. So unless you're squatting 800, benching 4, pulling in the 7s, you're not going to be real competitive to records. You can still have a great time at the meet. You can still even get gold. Don't kill yourself for a $20 title. You know what I mean? We can order these medals off of Amazon. You're doing it for yourself, and you're trying to be judged by unknowns to really test that you're doing everything correctly. Because there's nothing better than having a meet number. Going, no, I squatted 275 at a meet. That's for real, because you're being judged by 3 unknowns. They're going to be unbiased. It's not your friends. You get one of these squats. I squatted 275. Did you? Did you really? A meet doesn't lie. All right? Okay? Did we cover everything, Wendy?
Just for demo, but
Belts. Here's an approved belt.
this is a Pioneer belt.
You do not have to go this radical. This is a custom-made belt. You don't have to do this. There's an excellent company called Lifting Large, and they sell eco powerlifting belts for like $30, and they work. These, unfortunately, are about $160, but you do not need this. But this is your typical 10 millimeter thick belt. They allow a 13 mil, it's a little thicker, but I've never seen anything on thinness. But again, I wouldn't go below a 10. Some people are very comfortable with 13. That belt doesn't budge, but you're only allowed this height too, 4 inches. You can do lower. You can do it. We had my daughter's custom made at 3 inches because she's got a very short torso. So depending, you want something. If you have a belt on and every time you squat it digs into your ribs, I'd pick a different belt. You want to be able to be comfortable. You're just really looking for slight stability. And I'll give you a good indication on how to wear your belt for tightness. When you put it on, it should not be so tight that you cannot get your hands in here. It should be tight enough that you can still get your hands in here, because when you get down at the bottom, it's going to naturally expand. You're just trying to support that expansion. You don't want it sucking you in like a girdle, because then your diaphragm can't do what it's meant to do. You can't actually move and your hips can't do it. So you just want it tight enough that you can get your hand in. So then when you're in the hole, it's where it should be, and you come out. It's just really for stability. Your diaphragm's going to expand. It holds it in. Go down and up. But believe me, anyone who says they don't wear a belt, they're shooting themselves short, because they do help. But don't rely on it. I try to train as often as you can without it. But here's a good rule of thumb. If your back's a little tired, or you're a little sore, don't ego work out. Put this on. Save your back. Right? But always train with a belt too. If you haven't experienced it enough, train with it some so you can get familiar with it.
What did you say the squat was tighter than the belt on your chest?
Wouldn't matter. It's the same adjustment. Some people like it a little looser on the deadlift. Now here's a funny thing. This is what's been recently discovered. The higher up you wear it on the deadlift, about right up here, is much better. If you move your belt up right under or right at your sternum, you're going to be so much stronger than down here. It's crazy. The minute I did it, I gained 20 pounds on my pull.
Really?
The minute I did it.
Why?
Because it supports your mid back where you're at your weakest. You're at your weakest. So wear it up here on the deadlift.
Get into your position a lot better.
Yeah, you can actually get a lot lower and get pulling. And then for whatever reason, it just braces the mid back, which is at the weakest, right? Because it's not like a squat. A squat, you're more upright. You're not in a bad position. So the squat needs to be down here, helping that low back. But for whatever reason, when you move it up, man, you're so much stronger. And that was just recently discovered in the last, I would say, 3 years or so.
So, right under sternum?
You'll see, but move it way up. You'll be surprised.
Yeah, but like right at the top of your abs.
Yep.
Right there.
So it almost looks like you're like, you know, like those like the heart rate monitors.
Yeah.
They can put it like right there.
Yeah.
Imagine
Makes a big difference. Shockingly.
I actually brought my belt.
Yeah, sure. Any other question? I don't want to keep y'all here if y'all need to go, but I'm here to answer questions. I have till 10 p.m., so I'm good. You need to at some point. I mean, what if you don't want to just show up the day of the meet and never had worn a belt or your knee sleeves and don't be buying brand new shoes for a fucking meet because then they're uncomfortable. You're like, oh my God, these fucking shoes hurt. Don't do that. Don't change a fucking thing 3 months out from the meet. Get used to that. Whatever you're doing, don't change anything. And I wouldn't even, let's say your squat form's slightly off or your bench is slightly off. Am I going to change you right before a meet? I can't. I'd like to change you afterwards and fix some inefficiencies and make you a better lifter, but we can't do that before a meet. It's not worth it. You can start working on it long before a meet, and we want to get some corrections if needed, but not before.
Like maybe right now?
When's the meet?
Are you guys still accepting signs?
Well, I think we're through.
Like I tell them, there might be 1 or 2 spots. If it accepts treatment, there is a spot open.
So I should probably do another seminar in January on forms again. Singlet. Again, these are just Matman. You can go to Matman and order any singlet. Now, here's what's funny. You're going to laugh. This is going to help your squat about 5 pounds. This particular material. Because it's tight. Here's a funny rule. Here's a funny thing that I looked on the website. Anybody here familiar with Ed Cohn? Ed Cohn is considered to be the greatest power lifter of all time because the numbers he hit at a body weight of 219 are staggering. 1,013 squat, a 589 bench, and a 903 pull. But when you look on his little thing, it has an asterisk. Back then, they considered this a single ply suit. It has an asterisk and it says, single ply, but raw by today's standards. This is tight. It will aid you 5 pounds in your squat. I actually don't wear this until the day of the meet. I ain't saying don't, if you've never worn one, you need to get one and wear it. But because I don't have a problem anymore. I mean, I trained in my singlet a long time. But man, you put this on, maybe it's placebo. I don't know. But man, it does. I mean, that 600, I'd never squatted it before, and it went down and up like crazy. But don't expect it. But if it happens, terrific. Wrist straps. We sell the silverbacks here. They're approved for the lift. But any...
He just paid too. So
No, these are great. These are real good. You want a nice sturdy wrist strap if you're, especially when you're squatting, some people's wrists get torqued down and that can make it sore for bench. So when we put these on, it's a nice aid, keeps the wrist tight, doesn't let it get over torqued. So, and expect the day after the meet, take about 3 or 4 days off. Right after your first meet. Don't try to be your hero and be in the gym 2 days later thinking you're cool. You're only hurting yourself. I mean, if you think of what boxers, long distance runners, MMA fighters do right after a competition, dude, they take 2 weeks off. You won't need that at a powerlifting meet, but 3 or 4 and then come in and work out really light, 30% a couple of days, and then go back to your training regimen.
When you the thumb.
Oh, that's another one. If no one's told you. The way some of these wraps are set up is You want to wrap the joint itself. You don't want to wrap down here, that does shit. You want to wrap right here. What I like about these is, I'm going to pull this real tight, but in a meat, you can't have this on your thumb. And how you know you got it right is it pulls right off. If you're struggling to pull it off, you wrap your wrist wrong by whatever this is. Some people wrap it wrong. It's supposed to wrap towards you and face in the opposite direction of their thumbs pointed. And if this bothers you, you can come in, re-pull, and then go out there, and now it's out of the way. But it can't be on your thumb when you're benching or squatting. Small hill, no problem, but again, it can't be greater than 1.5 inches. They're going to inspect all your gear, but those are hills, and I love these for deadlifts. They're sticky, they don't move, and there's nothing. They're almost like very, very thin rubber or a thick sock.
What are those?
These are Merrells.
Merrells. How do you spell that?
Now, these are not cheap. You can obviously do wrestling shoes as well. Wrestling shoes are cheap. They're like $40. But Merrells I love, but these are like $1.20.
The Asics are.
The Asics are great. That's what I use when I lift in competition. I prefer barefoot, but it's a wrestling shoe. Typical knee sleeve. I use SBDs, that just squat, bench, deadlift. They're a European company. But any good solid neoprene, but I don't believe you can get one over 7 mil thick. So if you order one, it has to be under 7 mil. They won't allow it if it's I think there's some companies out there making pretty thick ones, but check with your organization and see what the maximum thickness on that is. And then if you use knee wraps, make sure you get approved lengths and approved companies.
All right. I actually wanted to switch over just because it's more, improved, the sleeves rather than the...
No, these are all. I mean,
Okay.
The thing is all meets allow knee wraps. You just got to sign up in the classic category.
I see. Okay.
It's not like they're not approved. You can't show up to go, oh, I'm squatting raw, and then you're showing them your knee wrap, and they're going, no, that's classic raw, and you signed up in the wrong category.
Okay.
So make sure when you sign up for a meet, you pick classic raw if you want to use knee wraps, but if you want to just use knee sleeves, sign up raw.
Got it.
So we can use this at deadlift.
Nope. No, I said wrist wraps. Those are straps. Well, yeah, if they use those, I could pull 750. I mean, that's all it's doing. No. Any other questions? I know, right? I mean, it'd be like the strongman. They'd be pulling 1,100 pounds. You could, truly. Because your body doesn't have to think about grip anymore. You can divert all that energy to pull. That's what kills the deadlift is you have to divide energy from your grip and takes away from what you can pull with. Believe me, if you ever want to test that, pull one day with straps. You're going to be like, this is 500? It's true. It's much different. Anything else? Thank you, everybody, for coming. I hope it was informative. All right.
Thank you.